Hello, everyone. My name is Ola Diamonds. I'm the strategist. So in the last few months, I've seen cases of people who have worked with several lawyers or individuals who even submitted by themselves and they get rejection and they come back and I look at their cases. And I've also seen people who have gotten like a request for evidence from a USCIS and they panic a lot because some things were missing in their application. So in this particular video and in subsequent ones, I'll be reviewing several cases, from the USCIS of people who have applied. Maybe they were denied, and what happened along the line is that they went to appeal and their judgment from that appeal. Now, what happened is that you learn a lot from the judgment of the appeal because they give you the real interpretation of several policies, because the policy of the USCIS explain a lot about what they want, but does not tell you in details about the how or why. So when you review rejection cases, right, or denial cases, then what happened is that you are able to interpret several things by yourself by looking at the real cases, right, from the USCIS. So I'll be showing you some basic things about a particular case that is very interesting, and I'll be subsequent one I'll be sharing with you that you will find so very much helpful. But before I share my screen, I just want to give you an information and also I request that you just do something for me. I want to inquire of you that you should please try to make sure that you subscribe to this channel, right? I think it's going to help you a lot and also it's going to help other people too. And hit that bell, that notification screen, on your screen, and we can take it over from here. So I'll show you the screen once again. Remember, the EB2-NIW is a self-petition. You can petition by yourself. You don't need a lawyer. You don't need a consultant. And this particular channel, I'll be giving you some tips that will help you if you want to do this by yourself, right? So it's not too complex. So we're trying to make it as simple as possible for you. So for you to prove this once again, you need to have an advanced degree, right? Or you need to prove exceptional ability. If you want to know how to prove advanced degree, go back and watch the subsequent video where I talked about the eligibility for the EB2-NIW. And also the last video I did on this particular channel, you will see where I broke down how you can prove exceptional ability. And you don't prove both of them. If you have advanced degree, you don't need to prove the exceptional ability. And if you have exceptional ability, you don't need to prove advanced degree. You just choose one of them that is suitable for you. Then you now go ahead to prove the prong 1, the prong 2, and the prong 3. And that is the way it works. So you are going to be seeing the case in which I'm going to be reviewing with you, right? And I'll be reviewing that case from beginning till the end. And I'm sure it is going to be very helpful for you. Remember, once again, we have a very big green card community. And for you to join that community, what I want you to do is that go to your browser and type linktr.ee /peoplearm.io. You will see a series of links there. There's a link called US Green Card Community. Join that US Green Card Community. We just hit over 1,000 people in that community. That is amazing. That is like the biggest US Green Card community you can find anywhere in the world. Organic, unique individuals in that community. You ask your questions, you get an answer in that community free of charge, right? Except you go for personal consultation. And I commit to give an answer to questions that is being asked in that particular community. And it's the fastest growing US community that we have today online. So let's look at this case. Remember what I told you, when people are denied, what happens to them is that some of them can go and file an appeal if they realize that they have a case. To this particular case that I'll be looking at, I want you to pay attention to this particular case. You will realize that the date of this case was exactly December 21, 2023, which means that this case is very, very recent, right? So just a recent judgment. And I'll be going through that case one by one to give you an idea of what is very important, right, to the USCIS. So let's start from here, right? So let's read this case. So it's an immigrant petition for national interest waiver. And if you look at it, you will see that it reads, it says, a petitioner demonstrates that waivers of these U.S. worker protections will be in the national interest. And I put something here which I call focus. This is very important. I call it focus. Now, this is called EB2-NIW for good reasons, right? It means that it is in the interest of the United States that they are waiving labor certification for you. This is where this name comes from. in the interest of the US, we are waiving the labor certification for you. That is what they are trying to do here, which means that you have a burden upon yourself to prove that your endeavor is in the national interest to United States, not geographic interest, but national interest to United States, not to an employer interest. Remember, once again, to national interest of United States. So it is very important that you put a lot of your focus on this particular part, which is the national interest. Yeah. So if you look at this case now, this case is actually about an individual who tried to prove. You remember I showed you something earlier, which is right, trying to prove whether you are for advanced degree or exceptional ability. So the first thing you do in your petition is to tell USCIS director reviewing your document to say, I am proving, right, the category under advanced degree. If you don't have advanced degree, then you state in your cover letter and say you are proving under the category for exceptional ability. This particular individual is applying for the one for exceptional ability. That is this person's focus. Now, if you look at it, what is this case? This person's petition, appeal, the denial case. And what happened is that on appeal, the petitioner contend that the director overlooked evidence and misapplied the case law. The person says, who reviewed my case, misapplied the case law and went to court, right? Now, he asserts that his proposed endeavor has national importance, that is well positioned to advance it, and the waiver will benefit the United States. Now, let's move further. Now, on judging the case and looking at the merit of the case, the judge came up with the final decision. And the final decision read, they concluded that this individual has not demonstrated the claimed national importance of his proposed work. We will therefore dismiss the appeal. Now, I want you to look at this case because there are conversations that comes up in my community about people saying, oh, just go and focus on prong 2, go and focus on prong 3. It is not important. It's only prong 2 that matters. This is 100% a deviation from the norm. Yeah. Now, it is expected, and if your prong 1 is faulty, forget about your prong 2, then prong 3 is already dead on arrival. Now, you could see that they rejected this guy's case, they dismissed this guy's appeal because it did not meet the national importance. Remember what I showed you earlier, this particular visa is majorly about national interest. That's why it's called national interest waiver. If you cannot prove national interest, forget about EB2-NIW. Now let's move further. Now, so what's the law? You could see here that to establish that we should have national interest waiver, you must demonstrate these two things. It is either you are a member of profession holding advanced degree, or you are non-citizens of exceptional ability in science, art, and business. If you watch my previous video, I tried to explain to you that you don't need an advanced degree, right, for you to apply for EB2-NIW. You could see that USCIS, the administration office here, clearly stated that you could either do both, or be either of them. Remember, it is not and, it is or. If you want to prove this, you don't have advanced degree, go back to my previous video and watch how you can prove this. Let's go back to the final part. To avoid job certification requirements, petitioner must demonstrate that waivers of the U.S. worker protection will be in the national interest. So you are telling USCIS and say, oh, waive labor certification for me. I don't want to go through the employer route. I want to be recognized as a top talent in the field. So waive it for me, be in the interest of United States. And that is what you're trying to do. Now, so let's go further into this case now. So they talk about the 3 prongs. Remember what I showed you earlier. You prove whether advanced degree or you prove exceptional ability. Then you go to the 3 prongs. You prove prong 1, prong 2, and prong 3. Now, these are the 3 prongs here. Now, this is the prong 1. So prong 1 says that your proposed US work, which is endeavor, has substantial merit and national importance. 3 things are involved here. You need to have proposed endeavor, which is your proposed US work. That's number 1. Number 2, you need to prove the merit of this particular proposed work. Number 3, you need to prove the national importance of the proposed work. Let me help you here. This is the administration office stating this very clearly to you. Prong 1 is not just about your proposed endeavor. Prong 1 is about your proposed endeavor, how it benefits United States, number 2. Number 3, the national importance of that proposed endeavor. Those are the 3 things, those 3 major headings you need to have in your prong 1. Then you go to your prong 2. Prong 2, 2 things are involved in prong 2. Number 1, you are positioned. You can see that here. You are positioned. That's number 1. So you need to show that you have a good standing in that your proposed endeavor. Second one is that you are not showing that you can advance that intended endeavor, which means you have a lot of contribution over time, and you are also willing to take the knowledge scope of that endeavor forward. That's the second part. Yeah. So let's move further. Then the third one is that you now want to tell United States and say, please, for all these reasons, it doesn't make sense for me to wait for an employer to employ me before I come to United States. Waive the labor certification for me. So you now need to give them enough reasons to say that with the level of skills I have, it doesn't make sense because I'm overskilled. It doesn't make sense for me to go through the labor certification, that it will benefit United States that it is waived. These are just the 3 things that you do in this one. Now, this is now where the real discussion is. Now, let's go to the part of the analysis. Now, you could see they were analyzing it one by one. You remember I told you about the prong 1, the proposed endeavor. Now, look at this guy's credential. This is why when somebody comes to me and the person tells me about their credential and tell me, do I qualify? And sometimes I'm not able to give an answer because it's not just about your credential being very good. There are several things that come into play in this your application process, like in your overall application. So let's look at it. Look at this guy. This guy's from Venezuela, right? He wanted to be a pilot like his father. When he completed high school, he attended a pilot school in Venezuela and he started earning certification. You could say that this guy did not go to a university. This is why exceptional route works for people like this, because he doesn't have to go to a uni to be a pilot. So which means he has certification as a pilot, which means out of the 6 criteria under exceptional ability, this guy has the first one, which is a certification from a school, right, in his field of endeavor. I hope that really makes sense to you, right? Now, he worked as commercial pilot since this. He has work experience. He has worked as contract pilot. He now became a chief of a corporate aircraft fleet. Now, he now holds a US commercial pilot license. That's a big deal, right? And he had job offer from a major US airline. Imagine you having maybe a job offer from like KLM, from like Air France, from like the big airline, for example. Yeah, so there are several of them across the world, maybe British Airways, like any kind. Yeah. Now look at the final statement here. He seeks to work as a commercial airline pilot. That is what is stated in his cover letter. Now you could see I highlighted something here. This is the beginning of his problem. The intent of EB2-NIW or EB1 is not for you to come and take jobs of other people in the United States. Because of that, when you are preparing your cover letter, you want to run away from you talking about there's a job scarcity in the market, I'm coming as a talent to come and pick the job. The moment you do that, you are losing points. If that is your biggest point, you're losing points. This is where these guys started having problems, because there are other visa routes for people who feel like I'm employable. Somebody's come and employ me. I want you to keep that in mind. This is where his problem actually started. So let's move on here. So if you look at him, yeah, so let's look at it. So he requested immigrant category is, so he went for exceptional ability, which means was able to prove that is the route in which he went, didn't go through the advanced degree route. So the director determination that the petitioner met at least 3 of the 6 evidentiary criteria. So which means this guy was able to submit 3 out of 6. Most likely was able to submit salary because it's already working, Secondly, most likely was able to supply, for example, he has a diploma, right, from the school. That's second one. Most likely is able to be, is part of an association, most likely from what he has done here. Most likely is able to have an evidence that is doing a critical role, which is like number 6 of the criteria as an example. So most likely he has more than 4 or 5 of the 6 criteria. You need to meet 3 out of the 6. So it's good for this guy. He's able to prove exceptional ability. So let's move on. Yeah. So that does not concern us anymore. Now that makes sense to you of how he was able to prove that. So let's go to substantial merit. You remember I told you about you need to have a proposed endeavor, you need to have merit of the endeavor, then you need to have the national importance of the endeavor for you to click that you have done the prong one. So look at this, substantial merit, right? So it says that a proposed endeavor may have substantial merit if it has potential to create a significant economic impact. That is one of the ways to prove that your endeavor. Please, this clue that you see here is a critical clue. For you to prove a substantial merit, they're giving you a clue. Show to us, show to the director that your endeavor has economic impact. If it doesn't have economic impact, then there's no merit to that particular endeavor, right? So that's what you do. Now look at what he did. The record this guy submitted, this pilot guy submitted, right, in his plan. He said he planned to work, that's even one of the red flag once again. He planned to work as a US commercial airline pilot. He wants to improve air travel safety and efficiency. He wants to help alleviate a US pilot shortage, causing flight cancellations and delays. This pilot shortage is also a big red flag because that is not the intent of EB2-NIW. It's not meant to fill labor shortages. Labor shortages is being handled by other categories of the visas, right? So again, it's losing the point there. And also to aid airlines in remaining solvent and generating revenue for the US economy. That's a valid one, for example. However, because he was able to talk about air travel safety, efficiency, right? Now, they said they therefore agree that the petitioner's proposed endeavor has merit. Simple as ABC. If you have a merit, right, and you are able to, if you have an endeavor and you are able to prove that these are the benefit of endeavor sufficiently with enough references, then it means that you are proving substantial merit, not completely the prong one. You have only succeeded in proving substantial merit of that endeavor, right? Now let's go to national importance. So benefit was well stated and it was well approved, which is fine. Now let's go to national importance. Now, in the national importance, they said an endeavor has significant potential to employ US workers or has other substantial positive economic effect, particularly in an economically depressed area, for instance, may be well understood to have national importance. So there are some criteria that you need to use to prove that my endeavor has national importance. This is not benefit in this case. We're talking about national importance because it must be something that is important to United States as a whole, not just a region, United States, except it is for economically depressed area. So the director found insufficient evidence for the guy. Look at it. The director found that the petitioner has not shown that his work would affect more than his employer and his customers. So what happened is that this pilot guy, because he's a good guy, his profession is very prestigious, respected, and he has a good job offer, he spent a lot of his time in prong one talking about his role in the employment. He spent a lot of his time talking about his contribution to his employer. Now, when you spend a lot of your time talking about your employer, about your customer, then you are not proving national importance. And I want to sound a note of like an information to you here. Benefit is not the same as national importance. Now, your benefits to your employer, your benefits to United States is not the same thing as something as a national importance to United States, which is important, critical here. Look at example of some things that this guy did here. So he stated in his endeavor that rises to the level of national importance due to the impact that it will have a long-term positive trajectory on air safety, efficiency, employment as commercial airline pilot. He also stated that it will seek to maintain airline services to rural US cities by volunteering for additional flights so routes can remain open. He also stated that its employment will diversify the US aviation industry. Now let's move further. If you realize you will realize that all this that is stating, for example, there are no evidential backup that there are topical issues today in the United States, right? And the administrative office could see that it just stated them, right? Just a top line. And there are nothing that tells them, that proves to them that this is actually of national interest to the United States today. I want to remind you once again, please, if you're just watching this video, right, I want to let you know that there's a big community you are missing out on. We have a lot of resources. Go to our link here, go to the linktr.ee /peoplearm.io and join our US Green Card community. And if any one of you feels like you love this content, you believe in what you're sharing, and you feel like, I'm trying to put my petition together, however, I think I need support in one way or the other, you can reach out to us. Just drop us an email, usgreencard@peoplearm.io, and we will be there to respond to you, right? To let you know the kind of services that we offer. There's several of them that will help you to submit your petition on time and also increase your likelihood of being approved. That is what we do. So let's move further here. So those were the things he stated. And they said again, we recognize that the petitioner's proposed work as an airline pilot has merit, which means they said, no worries, your profession is prestigious, is honorable, you've given us the benefits of your proposed endeavor. So they said, substantial merit, you are fine. But when considering the national importance, we must focus on whether the particular endeavor has national implications. So what is the implication of pilots? As an example, any one of you watching or listening to me right now, you feel like, guy, what are you talking about? Yeah, you should know a pilot actually has a benefit to the country as a whole, maybe to economy, people going for businesses, several things. Let me just give you an information here. USCIS does not assume for you. USCIS only put their effort on the evidences that you submit. Even if your endeavor is the best endeavor in the whole of the world, and the whole world knows that it is too critical, if you don't present evidences that shows that this is a topical issue today for United States, then what happens is that you are knocked out because you are not proving national implications of your endeavor. This is what I want to let you know in this particular rejection letter, that 3 things you must prove. Talk about your endeavor. Make sure the director can understand your endeavor. Secondly, make sure you state clearly the benefits of your endeavor across several economies: security, health, education, technology, engineering, like in manufacturing, like in several sectors. Then the last one is that try to find a way that you look for the national importance. How important is this endeavor to United States as a whole? They now look for evidences to be able to support that. Yeah. And those are the things that you look out for. The subsequent video, I'll also share with you some tips that you can use to prove your national importance. And it's one of the biggest points today that people are being rejected. The prong one is a very big one today. So look at it. There's a case of matter of dinosaur, which led to the 3 prongs today. He said, we ruled that meritorious proposal to teach science, for example, this guy was talking about was going to also contribute to the knowledge space. But they're saying that your meritorious proposal to teach science, technology, engineering, and courses, to people actually lacked national importance. So, for example, if you are doing a proposal as a teacher, for example, if the core of your endeavor is about teaching, most likely you will be rejected by USCIS, right? Because for the matter of dinosaur, those part of the cases in the matter of dinosaur was being struck out. So most likely your case already has a judicial precedence that will make it to be rejected today. So I think overall, you could see this is summary here. The petitioner has not sufficiently demonstrated that the specific endeavor would nationally affect the airlines industry or the economy, including an economically depressed area, has significant potential to employ U.S. workers, or will broadly enhance social welfare. We will therefore affirm the petition's denial. Let me land it here to summarize this whole conversation, right? You see, there's a trick here that the USCIS has given us, or that the HAO actually has given us. This is a trick. Look at it here. Now, it means one of the ways to demonstrate The national importance is you need to look for how your endeavor nationally affects your industry or nationally affect the economy. This is one of the tips. Number one tip. If you say this is my endeavor, you need to, when you explain the national importance, you need to talk about how it affects your industry, then how it affects the economy at large to the United States. I hope you understand that trick. That's one of the tricks they've given us here. Number two, which means that you need to look for news from the government. Please remember, from the government, whether it is White House, whether it is the president, whether it is the agency of the government, make sure it is coming from the government, not from an individual. Not because Forbes said it, not because CNN said it, no, because CNN is just a news media. It has to be the government saying that this is very critical to us, and most likely the government is also funding it. Secondly, does your endeavor, does it impact some economically depressed area? This is number two trick. Go and check, does your endeavor, does it affect some economically depressed area in the United States? For example, are there conversations about your endeavor affecting them? Number three, how does your endeavor potentially create more employment for U.S. worker? Number three, look for how this affects U.S. workers as an example. And lastly is that look for how this also enhances societal welfare. Again, when you are explaining this, you must use evidences, and the evidences must come from the government. Like largely, it must come from the government. And I've just succeeded in giving you some tips about how you prove national importance. You could now see that you don't just ask a question and say, oh, I have BSc, I have MSc, I work in here, I have 12 years experience. Do I qualify for EB2-NIW? Nobody, if somebody gives you an answer to that, the person is scamming you. And we are not here to scam you. This really makes sense to you, right? Overall. So guys, I want to say, like, pay attention to the, there'll be subsequent rejection like this, the appeal that I'm going to be reviewing. I'll be sharing them on this channel. Please hit that bell. Hit that bell. I want to beg with you. Subscribe now. Do not miss out. Hit that bell right now on your screen. If you have not joined our community, currently we just celebrated over 1,000 people, even individual, unique individuals on our big community online today. So join that community, come and ask your questions. And if you need support in any way, just drop us an email, usgreencard@tupulam.io. Nobody does this in this way. We bring it to you, help you as much as possible to find a way for you to apply by yourself. You don't need anybody at all, right? If you need to apply, yeah? So remember, subscribe now, hit that bell, join our community, and we'll always be on your face to make sure that we support you. And if you join our community, you have access to free resources. You have access to a free consult, which means you ask questions in our community. I provide answers to every question you ask in our community. You don't even need to go and pay anybody. The only time that you commit yourself to funding our community is when you need a private session. As long as your question can be asked in the community, you get an answer. Nobody does this one today, and you get your answer almost in real time. If you want to do a video about a topic, drop it in the comment box, and definitely we'll make a video like this for you to help as many people as possible. Our goal this year is to reach thousands of people out there who are not aware about this route to US green card. So my name once again is Ola Diamonds. I'm called the Strategist. There's several things we do in People Arm. We run a lot of tech training courses, product management, project management, DevOps training, business analysis training, Agile coaching training, Scrum Master certification, Six Sigma, Black Belt, Green Belt. We offer several. We also do consulting services for several people. And also, this is not the only visa we support people on. You want to get to United Kingdom on the Global Talent Visa, whether through the fashion route, entertainment route. You want to get to United Kingdom, for example, through the tech route, through the technician. You can also reach out to us. And we are always there to build that community of Black professionals across the world. Until I see you again, I want to remind you, if you look at this particular part here, you see, you can actually live life without borders. That's what we try to do, to give Black professionals out there in the Western world that liberty to live life without borders, right? Once again, my name is Ola Diamonds. I'm called the Strategist. Guys, have a lovely day. Yeah, bye.